Have you ever wondered about the original, darker versions of your favorite fairy tales? Once upon a time, these tales were not spun with the threads of enchantment and joy we know today. These original narratives, born in a time far removed from our own, were steeped in darkness and often served as stark warnings rather than comforting bedtime stories. The charming tales of Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Snow White were not always as pristine and polished as the versions we've grown to love. Their origins are far more gruesome, filled with blood-stained slippers, endless nightmares, heartbreaking sacrifices, dark secrets, and grim realities. These were not tales of whimsy, but stories born from the harsh realities of life. So as we prepare to venture beyond the veil of the familiar, remember, these are not the fairy tales of your childhood. Prepare to delve into a world far from the happily ever afters you're familiar with. Let us begin with the tale of Cinderella, a story far from the sparkling glass slippers and pumpkin carriages. The tale of Cinderella, as we know it, is a tale of hope and transformation, where a young woman overcomes her wicked stepmother and stepsisters with the help of a fairy godmother. But the original story is steeped in a far darker reality. In the original version, the tale of Cinderella was far from a cheerful rags-to-riches story. It was a tale of deceit, mutilation, and cruel punishment. The wicked stepsisters, driven by their jealousy and desperation to marry the prince, took drastic measures to fit into the tiny glass slipper. One of the sisters cut off her toes, the other her heel, staining the glass slipper with their blood. But their gruesome deceit was discovered by the prince, thanks to the help of two doves, who pointed out the blood seeping from the slipper. The stepsisters' punishment didn't end there. At Cinderella's wedding, the same doves who revealed their deception descended upon them, pecking out their eyes as a grim form of divine retribution. The story closes not on a note of triumph and joy, but of brutal justice and retribution. While the modern version of Cinderella ends with a happily ever after, the original tale is a stark reminder of the lengths people can go in their desperate desire for power and status. It speaks volumes about the harsh realities of life during the times when these fairy tales were first told. The original Cinderella story is far removed from the sanitized version we've come to know. It is a chilling tale that uses dramatic and violent imagery to convey moral lessons. The bloody slippers serve as a grotesque symbol of the stepsisters' punishment for their deceit and vanity. So, next time you think about Cinderella, remember the bloody slippers. Moving on to Sleeping Beauty, a tale that in its original form is more of a nightmare. Now, let's delve into the origins of this well-known story. The princess in the earliest versions is not put to sleep by an evil witch's curse, as we've been led to believe. No, it's a prophecy that sends her into her 100-year slumber. A prophecy foretelling that the princess will prick her finger on a spindle and fall into a sleep like death. It's a chilling prediction that leaves the kingdom in despair and the princess in danger. In a desperate attempt to alter the prophecy, the king orders all spindles to be destroyed. Yet, destiny is not so easily swayed. On the princess's 15th birthday, she discovers an old woman spinning with the only remaining spindle in the kingdom. Curious and naive, the princess touches the spindle, fulfilling the prophecy and plunging the kingdom into a century of sorrow. Now here's where the story takes a rather unsettling turn. In place of the charming prince we've grown accustomed to, the original tale involves a wandering king. He stumbles upon the sleeping princess and, unable to wake her, takes advantage of her unconscious state. She eventually gives birth to two children while still asleep, and it's not a prince's loving kiss, but the suckling of her child that removes the spindle's splinter and awakens her. The story doesn't end there. The wandering king, already married, takes the princess and her children to his kingdom, igniting the wrath of his jealous queen. She plots to kill and cook the children and the princess. However, her plan backfires, and she ends up in the pot instead. The king, now a widower, finally marries the princess, and they live, if not happily, then at least peacefully, ever after. A far cry from the innocent tale of love's first kiss, isn't it? The original Sleeping Beauty is a tapestry of prophecy, despair, violation and revenge, woven into a dark narrative far removed from the sanitized version we've come to know. Now let's dive into the tragic story of The Little Mermaid. Our tale takes us beneath the ocean's surface, into a world of enchanting beauty and mermaid lore. But the story we're about to unfold is far from the cheerful Disney rendition we've come to know and love. In Hans Christian Andersen's original tale, our little mermaid doesn't get her happily ever after. The Little Mermaid, who remains nameless in the original, is a young girl of just 15, filled with curiosity about the world above. On her 15th birthday, she rises to the surface, sees a handsome prince, and falls deeply in love. Now, here's where the story takes a dark turn. The mermaid visits a sea witch who grants her the ability to become human, but at a terrible cost. The transformation brings an excruciating pain, like a sword piercing through her body, and she is doomed to feel as if she's walking on sharp knives for the rest of her days. And the price doesn't stop there. In exchange for her new form, the mermaid surrenders her voice, her most prized possession. The catch is, to retain her human form, she must win the prince's love and marry him. Otherwise, she will turn into sea foam and cease to exist. In Andersen's tale, the prince is charmed by the mute girl who saved him, but he marries a princess from a neighbouring kingdom, believing her to be his rescuer. The Little Mermaid, heartbroken and facing her demise, is offered a way out by her sisters. They bring her a knife from the sea witch, promising that if she kills the prince and lets his blood drip on her feet, she will become a mermaid again. But our Little Mermaid, in a final act of love and sacrifice, cannot bring herself to harm the prince. As dawn breaks, she throws herself into the sea, her body dissolving into foam. And so, the original tale of the Little Mermaid ends not with a royal wedding, but with a poignant testament to unrequited love and selfless sacrifice. Remember, not all fairy tales have a happy ending. Next, we explore the tale of Beauty and the Beast, a story with a much darker secret. Diving into the murky depths of this well-loved tale, we find a narrative far removed from the romantic fantasy we've come to know. The Beast from the original story is not a cursed prince longing for redemption, but a sadistic captor who revels in the fear he instills in Beauty. As we delve deeper, we encounter a beast who takes pleasure in manipulating Beauty's emotions. He showers her with lavish gifts and hollow kindness, only to switch to a terrifying display of his monstrous nature. The Beast's actions are not driven by a desire to win Beauty's heart, but by a perverse enjoyment derived from her terror and despair. This unsettling dynamic unveils a chilling perspective on the story. The Beast is not a misunderstood creature yearning for love, but a tormentor who thrives on intimidation and control. The tale becomes less about redemption and love, and more about fear, domination, and the twisted satisfaction the Beast gains from his captive's dread. In this original version, the line between man and monster blurs, providing a stark contrast to the sanitized tale we've grown up with. The Beast's true nature is not transformed by love, but is simply masked by it, offering a grim reminder of the story's dark origins. The Beast, it turns out, was a beast indeed. Finally, we delve into the grim tale of Snow White. The tale that many of us have grown up with is a sanitized version, scrubbed clean of its original harsh reality. The original story, written by the Brothers Grimm in the early 19th century, carries a far darker ending. In this version, our innocent Snow White still falls into her magical slumber, a victim of the evil queen's jealousy. However, the evil queen's fate is not as mild as being banished or defeated by a prince. The queen's end is a gruesome spectacle of punishment and poetic justice. At Snow White's wedding, the evil queen is invited, unaware of the bride's true identity. When she arrives, she is presented with a pair of red-hot iron shoes. She's forced to put them on and dance. Yes, dance. Dance until she falls down dead, a victim of her own malicious actions. This is a chilling reminder that these tales were initially cautionary stories, designed to teach children about the harsh realities of life, rather than the sanitized versions we know today. They were filled with gruesome punishments and brutal consequences for those who allowed jealousy, vanity, and evil to guide their actions, so fairy tales, it seems, were originally not so fair.